So, is permitted development right Class G dead or alive? It's a question, isn't it? It's a question that we've all been waiting the answer for, certainly over this year. For those of you that don't know, the permitted development right Class G gave us the ability to take a number of buildings like shops and banks and put 2 flats over the top. So we could take an existing building and put 2 flats under permitted development rights over the top of those units. One of the great things about Class G was that there was no prior notification. You just got on and done it. No one could stop you. Providing you ticked the boxes and your planning consultant could confirm that, you could just crack on and go and do it. Well, it has changed a little, okay? It has changed. And there are good and there are bad changes. I actually think overall it's for the better. I heard someone describe it, one planning consultant out there described it as the super Class G. And in lots of ways, I think it is. So what are the changes? What's been going on with Class G? As of the 1st of August 2021, we now have changes to Class G. What has changed, okay, is that now fundamentally you have to do an application form. No one likes application forms, do they? But you do. You have to do a prior notification. It falls in line with all of the other permitted development rights, and a prior application, a prior notification is actually required. Okay, get your planning consultant to do it. You don't want to do forms. Get them to do it. They'll probably do it better than you anyway. So now you have to actually go through the formal process. The normal 56-day process is there. You know, the local planning officer is obliged to try and return it within 56 days. Of course, they may ask for an extension of time. So we've still got those sort of time limits around it. You can still do it under Enlisted Buildings. That was a great thing about Class G, that you could actually go into listed buildings, and it's the only permitted development right that lets you do that. All other permitted development rights, they basically take away the rights in listed buildings. So Class G, you can still do it. Bear in mind, just as a side issue, be very careful about working in listed buildings, because you're still going to have to deal with a conservation officer. And conservation officers, they can be good ones and bad ones. And I don't mean that in terms of their ability, but in the way they'll work with you and support you and let you change or tweak things in the building you want to refurb. So bear in mind, if you're going to have to work with a conservation officer, that adds another layer of complexity to your project. But you can do it still in listed buildings. Now, within the rules and the various rules that you have to comply with flooding, etc., there is a new one that has been brought in, and I think it's a good one, okay, from a personal perspective. From a developer's perspective, it means we have to think about it, but, you know, if we look at these and think, yeah, that's a good rule, that's a good rule. It's about domestic waste management. Pretty exciting, eh? Some say a load of old rubbish. But seriously, guys, this is what you've got to look at now. They want to know that you have thought and considered how the waste is going to be managed. Now, of course, have you driven out down your local towns and cities and seen where shop units have been converted above on the upper floors? And on bin day, you can't walk on the pavement. Every flat has 2 wheelie bins. You imagine you take a scheme where you put 4 or 5 flats upstairs, they could have 10 wheelie bins and then a glass box. And all of these come out on the pavement, and sometimes they never take them back in. This is what they're trying to control. And I think that's a good thing. Personally, I think that's a good thing for us developers to make sure that we can comply with that. So we now have to demonstrate how we're going to look after the wheelie bins, okay? Waste management. So that's not a big issue, but we'll have to do that. It might take a little bit of area away. It might mean that some of these you've got to actually take some internal space away to get the bins working within that. Not necessarily a problem. All in the mix. What is exciting about Class G, and I think very exciting, that Class G now applies, get this guys, now applies to any building under Planning Use Class E. Yeah, Planning Use Class E. So under there we've got that whole raft of buildings, okay? We have got shops, we have got offices, we have got gyms, we have got health centres, we have got banks. We've got all of these buildings, light industrial. It complies with a whole load of buildings. Now, some of them perhaps don't fit in as well for putting 2 units over. Others definitely will. Others definitely will. So now the group has been widened out, whereas before it was just retail and it was banking premises that you could do it over the top of. Now this really opens up. Anything under Planning Use Class E can have 2 shops over. Now, you might say, well, hang on a minute, I'm going to use Class MA for that. Class MA is a permitted development right that lets you convert up to 1,500 square metres of the whole building. Certain restrictions in conservation areas for the shop front. But why would I use Class G? Because Class G is 2 over and can be done in a listed building. So it does open the door for some buildings that you might not have been able to do it in before. So there we go. And of course, the rules are going to be slightly different. Class G, very interesting, very powerful. I am very pleased that it's there. I'm very pleased for you guys out there, you folks out there that are looking to do development, that are wanting to get into development. I think Class G, in some instances, is going to be as powerful as the new MA. And of course, what's saying you can't combine them together? Class G, Class MA, and convert the whole of the building. Really powerful stuff, really interesting. Class G, it's not dead, it's well and truly alive, it's just reformatted, I think, in a much stronger fashion. If you ignore the fact you've got to fill out a few forms, other than that, it's great news. Great news for you folks out there as developers. Hopefully you like what we do here. If you do, like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video. Thanks now.